Yeah.
You're walking out.
Yeah.
At least they're playing.
Going to the bar.
I'm gonna go to the bar. The bar's open tonight.
I have a question. It's going to be a long meeting.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've been to the bar on a Monday night since I don't know when.
Out in this town. Well, maybe is buying five open?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I'm doing.
No, I'm gonna go over to Eagles.
We need to know which one not to go to.
On that note, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Tracy City Council for Monday, January 11th. If you'd stand and join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody's praying tonight.
Anybody for an invocation?
Matt?
Okay. Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
We we have a special presentation tonight, a certificate of appreciation to your very long tenure as our council member and mayor. And with that, I'd like to turn over to council member Dave Teagues.
So I get to present this to you, sir. It's a certificate of appreciation, and I'll read it. It says, awarded to Tony Peterson, the city of Tracy recognizes and acknowledges the efforts that you put forth while serving as the mayor for the city of Tracy. Your dedication and serving the citizens of Tracy was greatly appreciated. Thank you. I'll even shake your hand.
39%, so you get a bit of a rule break. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody.
Would you like to make some comments?
Good luck. It's going to be a long, tough year. There's a lot of things coming. Do your homework. And thank you. I'm not going to say I'm going to miss it, but thank you.
Give me to that.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think at this point, we have to swear in the new members of City Council and the new mayor.
Yep.
And with that, if I could have everybody come up, that would be great. Take their slots. And then as the clerk, so the way this is going to work tonight, after everybody takes their seats,
Okay.
is that I have to, as the clerk, have to officially swear everybody in. And I think we're going to kind of do it all at once. Is that right, Diane?
Yes. And we'll just read it.
We'll just read it.
Yeah, we'll just read it.
So we're not going to do the I state your name?
So this is your I state your name section. So this is so basically this is your first test to see if you can be a good team. Because we're going to read this all at the same time. And so as the clerk, I would say we'll start on 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go with I. 1, 2, 3.
I, Dave Teagues, do solemnly swear to follow and support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota, and the Charter and the ordinance of the city of Tracy, and do faithfully discharge the duties involving upon me as the city council member of the
City of Tracy, to the best
of my judgment and ability.
Not too shabby. You're now officially council members and mayors.
So if you guys could sign those and I'll collect them after.
You sign them and then I will sign them and then we'll...
What do you want us to do with the one in the drawer?
That's not. Thank you. That's yours to keep.
Oh, I get to keep one.
With that, Mayor, I'd like to turn the floor back over to you.
All right. So we will move on to the approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, we have one item we want to get a clarification on. So on 8C on the consent calendar, it should include a time on that setting of the hearing at 6:45. So just for the record that when we get to that point, it's going to be at 6:45 on January 20th. And it should be January 22nd, I think.
No, 25th.
Not 25th.
No, it is the 25th.
It is the 25th? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. My fault. 25th. I think I got the council meeting mixed up with payday. So.
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Or do we
Aye.
have to do we have to do each one again like before?
Not for motions
Okay,
like
good.
this.
Motions like
Okay.
this were okay. When we do resolutions, we should get a roll call vote.
Okay. Good. All those opposed? Motion carries. We don't have any public hearings tonight, right?
Correct.
Anybody from the public that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? Shirley.
Okay. First, I'd like to congratulate everybody and the mayor on your new council seats.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We've got a good council crew, I think. Okay? And I want to tell thank you to Per Peterson for all he's done for helping with the senior comments that have been coming. Okay? It's a big job running a paper. Okay? And then I want to get to Marshall has opened their senior center. It was in the Saturday, Sunday Marshall paper. And they're going to town. But we don't have a senior center and nowhere to go. Okay? I hand-delivered the letter that was in the paper to each council person and the new mayor. And there are a lot of people taking issue with the seniors being steered into or connected to the BMC. And I know there are a couple council people who have thoughts about this project. And I would like to suggest that we go back to the original senior committee that was being formed to discuss this. It would be nice to have the council's approval for this proposal of a senior committee and have the senior committee report directly to the council. With the council's help, this committee could do some research and hopefully proceed quickly with this project. The seniors of this community have contributed a lot towards this city. And now we need something from the council so we have someplace to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Anybody have any comments on that?
Not supposed to comment on that.
Yeah. All right. Then I guess we'll talk about it later. And we'll move on to the consent calendar. Do we have approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the entire consent calendar.
I'll second that.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we turn this over to you, Eric?
Well, I can, if you would like me. The first, there's, on this mayor and council communication, really is mayor and council communication, but this is where we do all the approvals, the appointments and whatnot for the end of for the year 2021. The first one, A, is the way that the charter is set out. And every single one of these we put together is from the charter or through ordinance. And the first one, A, is a city administrator appointment with the council approval. The second one is a mayoral appointment with council approval. And the third one is really council appointments. So in reality, it's all council appointments, but it kind of starts from different places. And this is something we do have to do at the first meeting in January every year. So with that, what I would do is make known verbally that my appointments, which are the same people that serve these positions right now, for Deputy City Administrator are Shane Daniels and Deputy City Clerk Diane Campbell. Then the City Council would have to have a motion to approve those appointments.
No?
Yep.
I'd make that a motion. I'll second that.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, the mayor will appoint the city clerk of Eric Hansen and the city attorney Matt Gross.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So the council appointment, Mayor Pro Temp, do you mind if I make a suggestion to change that?
Yeah,
I thought you'd appreciate that.
I'm open to that.
I'd like to appoint Seth if he's okay with that.
That'd be fine.
Do we vote on each one or just do them all and then vote?
Yeah, the mayor pro tem, just to be clear, all of these are council appointments. They aren't appointments directly from the mayor, but certainly if you want to nominate Seth, you could vote on that. But I would do each one in turn, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The community ed finance, do you still want to do that?
I don't mind. I'm also open for sharing. Anybody want?
Did you guys meet last year at all?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
Be the board, Dave. Dave, that'd be the board.
I've been on that board before. I'd make a motion to approve too in the Community Ed Financial Advisory Board.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Planning Commission, are you still okay with that?
Yeah, I'd like to stay on it.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve Jerry on the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I missed the eye.
Yeah.
Oh,
A bunch of us did. I think Dave was the only one.
Aye. Did everybody else aye?
Aye, aye.
EDA members,
I'd like to stay on.
I'm open if anybody wants to.
because I know that a few, like Ron would like to be on that, if you
Okay.
don't want to be.
No, that's fine.
Are you okay with that?
Sounds good.
All those in favor?
Well, who's going on then?
Oh, Dave and Ron.
Okay. You ain't got nothing to do, cool.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that it's Dave and Ron be our members for the EDA.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Wheels Across the Prairie Museum.
Oop, you forgot one.
Where?
Skip
Oh, the hospital. I just kind of figured you were shooting. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I'm fine with staying on it. I mean, we're just advisory. It's more or less a liaison. If something's going on, I'm there anyway, so.
I'd make a motion for that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Wheels Across the Prairie Museum.
I should probably be off because I can't give them enough time because normally I'm out of town on meetings when they have their meetings, so I can't be there most of the time.
George or Seth?
George? George.
Anybody else want to be on that?
Seth, you're there anyhow.
I am on the wheels board now, so I could do it, but I certainly welcome anyone new on the board too.
Yeah, I can't give enough time, but I mean, I keep up to date, but I can't be there most of the time, so.
So that's.
You're okay with the, you used to have, your time was okay with the Planning Commission?
EDA,
I mean, the EDA?
yeah, that's 6:45 in the morning.
Okay.
What?
Too late, it's voted on.
So,
You jumped in.
do you want to appoint somebody then?
Yes, I'll appoint Seth if that, It-
I'm happy to do that, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for Seth on the Wheels Board.
We have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to adopt the Roberts Rule of Order for the order of business at the council meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There's some extra copies of Robert's Rules of Order.
Are there any in your drawer? There used to be.
Make them look like this.
I don't see one, but.
Here, I'll share.
I maybe took mine home.
George probably has two in his drawer.
No, I got lucky, I don't have any.
Gotta go buy one. There's a quiz next week.
There might be other.
It looks like it belongs to some library,
Yeah, I
right?
think there's a
Tracy
new one,
Public Library.
a soft-sided one, or a soft cover one somewhere.
We'll get you one.
We don't have any department head or staff reports, right? I don't see them.
No, Dale gave a written report, but he's not available to be here tonight because he says some training.
Okay.
So do we need to approve his year end?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just informational.
Gotcha.
Okay, did you want to give an oversight on the resolutions?
Sure. So let's talk about the first two. We'll take them one at a time. The first two are related to some items we need to do in state law to address some conflicts. I'm going to let Matt talk about those.
Generally, a city council member is prohibited from contracting with the city if they have a financial interest in the contract. We've done this before with Dave and you, Mayor, in the past. For these, obviously Dave works for Breakthrough Beverage here, has commissions on that, and for Mayor, your husband does the contracting services for the city. Because of that, the city needs to pass a resolution authorizing those, and after that's passed by the city council, before the city pays a claim to either Corman Contracting or Breakthrough Beverage, you both have to sign and submit an affidavit disclosing that conflict. State law does have an exception that allows this to occur if the contract is not one that needs to be competitively bid. That means it's less than $175,000. Both of these contracts meet that eligibility. So in order for the city to proceed with contracting both with Dave and Breakthrough Beverage and Corman Contracting, the city council needs to authorize and pass those resolutions, and then after that, you two need to sign the affidavit of conflict, and then those claims can be paid when the claim is earned. So
Maybe to abstain.
yes, and abstain
Okay.
from the voting, and the resolutions need to be passed unanimously with there'll be separate resolutions, but all members need to agree on that resolution.
So all we need is just someone to introduce the resolutions one at a time.
Okay. So, Resolution 2021-1, contract with the city official Dave Teagues as Breakthrough Beverage.
I'll make a motion that we approve that resolution 2021-1.
I'll second that.
First and second. No, this is when we call the roll call, right?
Yep.
Landite,
Aye.
Chow,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2021-2, the contract with city official Pam Corman and Corman Construction.
I'll second it.
Chow,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
and Landite.
Aye.
Would you like me to go to the next item then? So item number 3 is about our cable franchise agreement. We had actually Matt review this as well, but basically with VAS they had a change in ownership, and so they asked us to pass a resolution recognizing this new ownership. It doesn't change the agreement in any way, but we're required under federal law because of this to do this essentially, to recognize that yes, it's okay that they make this change in ownership. So it's fairly routine and straightforward.
Do we know who that is?
Yeah, we do. It's in the resolution.
Clarity Telecom.
It's Clarity Telecom. Thank you. Yes, it's Clarity Telecom. This is the kind of stuff that happens in corporate America all the time. You know, companies change names, they change hands, they change owners, and that's what's going on here.
And it complies with Chapter 10 of the city charter. It's not a modification to the agreement. All the terms, rates are the same, so it doesn't require a public hearing. It's just under federal law, as Eric said, you have to approve this. If you don't, it would be automatically approved if you don't take action within 120 days. So it's just merely a name change, and you need to sign off on it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-3.
I'll second it.
First and second, do we have roll call?
Schultz? Aye. Schmidt?
Aye.
Landite?
Aye.
Howe?
Aye.
Koopman?
Aye.
Teagues?
Aye.
Mayor Coleman?
Aye.
So the next item is I'm going to have Shane come up and talk real quick just about this, but this has to do with an agreement with for a transportation grant agreement for the airport improvements with the state of Minnesota Department of Transportation. Do you want to talk about this, Shane, or is this?
Yeah, just going to find the.
There's some information in your packet about it, but it's fairly routine. We have to sign these agreements every year in order to get money from the state.
So what that grant agreement is, so MnDOT had set aside money, and in the memo in your council packet, I kind of explained how the percentage breakdown is. I believe the city's match is 25% on that grant. So we had the eligibility to pave the airport driveway approach and kind of the parking area by the AD building, which is the main admin building that you see when you pull in. So this is a I guess a legal form to be able to obtain those grant funds for that project. Just to be approved by the council to move forward with that.
So Shane, that paving project then is listed in the master airport plan, correct?
Correct.
That is recommended by the airport commission.
It's also in the city council's adopted CIP as part of the 2021 budget. So it's in both locations.
And by spending the money on this project, it's not going to adversely affect, let's say, the hangar project?
No.
We have other funds allocated for that then?
Correct.
So in the 2021, the way this is, we have both the grading for the hangar project that starts in 2021 as well as the 25% match already in the approved 2021 budget. That money is going to be coming out of, there's a little bit of revenues coming in, but for the most part is coming out of fund balance from that fund, which is a rollover about $340,000 in grant money from the previous cycle that we got reimbursed for previous capital improvements at the airport. And so it won't affect, both of those projects are happening ultimately is what it amounts to.
Do we know what that's going to cost us yet?
Which one? The hangars?
Yeah.
Not entirely. There's a question that you're going to need to answer as part of the 2022 budget, and that is, do we want 4 hangars or do we want 8 hangars? That's going to partially be a question of, can we fill the 8 hangars or not? Because we're going to have to get a loan from MnDOT for the hangars. That's not money you can get grant money. That's not a project you can get grant money from because it's considered a revenue generating enterprise. So the FAA won't give you any money for it. And so what we're going to have to do, and I talked to Jeff about this a little bit, we've had some discussions previously, but we're going to have to try to get some commitments sometime this year, probably over the summer, from people that says, yes, if we build a hangar, we're going to sign a lease, with you. And kind of depending on how our results turn out, I think that will drive, how many hangars we build out there, because we want to make sure we have money coming in order to pay for that loan.
Shane, what do we get for rent now?
I think it's $180
$180 a quarter.
$180 a quarter.
Yeah.
And we'll know what we'll have to charge if we do this.
Yeah.
And then people that sign that
We
agreement.
did. I sent a memo out to the council earlier in the year, or last year, but of course the new council members wouldn't have received that. But basically, we looked at a couple of things. What would we need to charge? And then we looked at some other communities that had built new hangars and what they were charging. We're talking about a fairly substantial increase. So you're going from, $180 a quarter to hundreds of dollars a month, most likely. It's a substantial increase, and that's it's going to be a lot nicer for people. And so I think the value is there, but you still have to make sure that we have people that are willing to pay that.
Well, what happens if we don't? I mean, that maybe getting the cart ahead of the horse.
Well, that's a question that you're going to have to answer. If, for example, we built 8 hangars out there, and we only rented 4 of them, and we can't cover the loan, well, that money would have to come from the general fund in order to pay for that loan. And so your general tax dollars would be essentially paying for the airport, which is why I think it's important that it kind of pay for its own way. I don't think it would sit real well with the public to use general fund money on that.
Right.
So it's a discussion we're going to have this year about how we're going to proceed.
What type of money do we get from the crop sprayer? The one that spends 3 weeks out there
I think it's at $750
for the time he's there.
per time. And then they pay their own water bill when they're there too.
And the fuel comes out of our tank?
No,
Does
the
he
fuel
bring
they
his own?
use is Jet A, and we do not supply Jet
He
A.
brings his own then?
Yeah.
Does that suffice, you think, or does that need to go up a little too?
I guess it's up to the council.
No, I'm just asking your opinion.
Yeah, and some airports charge nothing, and some charge up to $1,000. When we look back, it doesn't seem to be a problem with them paying it. They still come back every year, so I know at one time I think it was $500.
It was just increased.
And we just increased it, I think, to
Last year,
$750. So, and they don't say. I guess they use the facilities there a little bit, but for the most part, it's just tying up the taxiway a little bit. Other than that, they're not too intrusive
They
anyway.
pass that cost through, so it don't really matter to them too much.
Yeah.
So the 180, is that comparable to, say, Slayton, for example?
It's kind of hard. Generally, yes, but here's the issue: is that our facilities are really so dilapidated. They're 70 years old, and so it's kind of hard to find a comparable, if that makes sense. We did do some comps on the new hangars. For example, one of the last ones that was built was in Olivia, not too far from here, and looked at what they're charging. So that's probably a better way to look at it. But yeah, we're reasonably comparable, yes. I don't think we could increase the rent on those old hangars very much. It's just not much value there.
So are we looking at increasing the new hangars? Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah, it could be as much as $400 a month, but we don't know exactly what we're talking about yet because I haven't done that analysis, because I don't know what the total cost is, how much money we can take out of the airport fund to pay for it, how much of a loan we need to take out yet. There's a lot of things that we haven't done the research on yet, but I can tell you that that's what Olivia's charging. And so it does look like it's going to be in the hundreds of dollars a month.
There's just a fine line there too on rent. You can price your rent based on what the cost for the facility, but you'll price yourself right out of the market where you won't have anybody either. Then you're stuck with a building. So that's
right. That's why we need to decide do we have a market for it or not? And how big is the market? Is the market 4 planes? Is it 8 planes? Is it 6 planes? You know, what is it exactly? And so we'll have to decide. We're going to grade the site so that we can build as much as 8 on there, but 8 hangars, 8 T hangars actually specifically. But we'll have to kind of get a better sense by the end of the year as we start to prepare the budget what we're actually going to build out there next year.
Will you build them where the old are, or a new site, a new spots? The old can stay there till the new's up?
I don't know if the exact spot has been decided yet. Last I knew was kind of just to the west of the field system we have out there now, but
that's a new site then, a new spot kind of.
Yeah,
so
and
the old can stay till the new is up.
Yep. Yeah, because we want to keep our tenants that we have until something's established.
Curious, I guess.
But it could go to the south too. It just kind of depends on how they do their final design on that.
How many renters do we have there now?
I want to say 8 right now. Maybe a 9th. I'm not sure 100% on the last one because there's a transient one there now. So
We're required to have 10. I think we officially have 10 tails out there, although there aren't 10 planes out there, in order to get NIPIA money from the feds. And this is actually what's driving building the new hangars, is that ours are so old that, you know, people are threatening to leave essentially. So we're hoping that with new hangars we can attract new tenants and then not put our NIPIA funds at risk.
Do you think a lot of the older ones will stay when they have that new price?
and see, that was, you know, some of the conversation that historically, you know, some of them like the cheap rent, you know, in the old hangar. But the problem is for us is that old hangar, it's hard to fix. You know, you got parts you can't even, you know, they'll laugh at you if you even ask for a part for a door or anything there now, you know, without replacing the whole door. So I mean, it's just at a point where it's either put 300,000 into the one we have and still have a hangar with undersized doors and newer aircrafts won't fit in there, or, you know, they pay the extra. Or so there's a chance you could lose them. You know, if we tore that down, you know, there's some that may not want to pay the, you know, $400 a month. Or
But we could also pick up some nicer spots too. Who knows? It's a crapshoot.
There is
NIPIA money that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We need to weigh the checks and balances on that too. If we lose some of that money, do we need to lower the rent a little bit to keep that money coming?
If we don't have the money coming in from NIPIA, we're going to be putting a lot of money in from the general fund into it. We cannot lose the NIPIA money under any circumstances. That is literally a disaster scenario.
So it's kind of a fine line we got to walk in.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we're going to have to do this and work hard to attract new tenants, you know, to the new. I talked to Jeff Carpenter about this actually last week, and it'll be one of the things he's working on this summer.
So how is that going to work if we have to have 10 tails in the hangar?
Well, we'll end up keeping some of the old hangars around and then build the additional ones, is what it amounts to. Because you've got two different versions out there. You've got some that are a little newer, but most of them are older. And but we haven't talked through all that yet. It kind of depends on what the tenants want, somewhat. But I would suspect that we would keep the newer one, which I think is 4. There's one that's, I forget. We're still working on that plan. Ultimately, is what it amounts to.
So right now I actually have 2 waiting, possibly a third. He's kind of on the fence, that are waiting for a newer facility because their planes will not fit here, but they'd like to be based in Tracy.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I don't know how the current tenants will like an increase, you know, if they do end up completely tearing that out. And at some point we're going to have to, just because, you know, for one, it looks terrible, and 2, it, you know, the maintenance of it, you know, the wind loosens the tin on it. You know, after the blizzard, we were putting more screws on it. So, you know, it's a constant battle with it. So, but, you know, so there is probably a trade-off there. But the NIPIA, for those of you who don't understand how that system works, is the federal government gives us $150,000 a year for airport maintenance, and it's a 5% local and 5% state match, and that's 90% federal. So it's a huge dollar amount. So like Eric said, you don't really want to miss out on that. Any
Does
other
that cover
questions?
like the mowing and snow moving and stuff?
No,
like
that's
that?
a whole different thing.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine.
That's under MnDOT maintenance operations.
Okay.
And that's, I want to say it's like 26 or 28,000 a year they allocate for that, and then that's a 25-75 match. The state pays 75 on that. So.
And that's enough to do it?
Yep.
All the mowing and spraying?
Generally, yeah. I mean, it doesn't include any capital projects, so, but you know, if we have to do tile repair or anything like that, it's generally covered it. So.
All right, let's bring this back around to. I'd make a motion to approve 2021-4, the authorization to execute the grant.
Second.
First and second, do we have roll call?
Howe,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Koopman,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Coleman.
Aye.
The next item is a resolution establishing time and place of city council meetings, which we're required to do. I do want to bring up another issue. It basically is the same schedule as we've been following, the second and fourth Mondays of the month. Some years we've had issues where maybe Labor Day or Memorial Day fell on that Monday, but actually this year there are 5 days in May, and so in reality there's literally no conflict with any holiday on the second and fourth Mondays at any time this year. It does include a cancellation of the second meeting in December, which is what we've traditionally done. I'd like to raise another issue with the council for discussion. It's not in this resolution, but you know, we have in the last 6 months we've had some work sessions with the city council, not formal city council meetings, in addition to the city council meetings. We had 3 on the budget and 4 on the city council priorities. And so in about a 6-month period, we did 7 of those. I think more than perhaps that you've done in the past. I'd like to make a suggestion that perhaps we also include as part of this motion informally, you know, to do some additional study sessions. I think there's some value in that. I mean, what you saw tonight in terms of the questions about the airport is a pretty good example of that. There's a lot of things that we would like to be able to talk to you about in more detail, where you can ask questions in an informal way. It's a public meeting, of course, but in a formal city council meeting, there isn't always an opportunity to do that. So we could present to you, for example, everything that's happening at the airport, and you don't have to worry about, you know, passing a resolution or anything, but give you a real deeper dive on particular issues. My suggestion is that we try to do those, since we've been doing them roughly about once a month anyway in the last 6 months, that maybe we take, there's a couple of options. One option would be maybe you just add a day in the month. The second option is that we have in the past done them prior to the city council meeting. So maybe you have an hour prior to the city council meeting, then you have your formal city council meeting. I would want to do it on different topics, not the same topics of what's happening in the council meeting, so we could really get in more depth. So I just wanted to throw that out, you know, for discussion amongst the council, and you know, happy to do anything in your direction, and we can continue to do it on an as-needed basis, but it might make sense to have something scheduled, and we can always cancel it if we don't have a topic. So those are my thoughts on, you know, I'm welcome to hear your feedback.
You said this last year we did 6 of them?
We did 7 of them, yeah. We
7
did
of them?
3 on the budget, and we did 4 on the 4 council goals and priorities. Or maybe it was 2 on the budget and 4, but we did 6 or 7, yes, in the last 6 months, since June.
I do think they're beneficial. I think it just gives more opportunity for more of a discussion where we feel like we're at least a little more knowledgeable when we're making motions and making decisions. Do we have to say how many?
We don't.
I personally think we could just leave it as an as needed. I don't think anybody usually, most of us probably have our Mondays open to start with, just because of council meetings. We can always do it before. I know if you're trying to farm, that's a different story. But I kind of like that, so if we don't need any until June, or we don't need any until May, then we don't have to be canceling it, but we can schedule. That, I mean, that works for me. Just doing them as we needed them, and when we needed them to.
How did council members like it when you met at 5:30 prior to a meeting, regular meeting? Did the evening get too long, or was it better to have it on a separate night?
It's to be kind of rushed at 5:30 for some of us. I know Jerry, I think, struggles with that, and I really struggle with it.
I mean, I do struggle with it, but at the same time, I also
I
like having 2 nights a month that I'm committed to, be it however length of time. It gets to be a long day when you've worked all day, and I mean,
And I think
but
it depends
that's
on
part of being on the council, I guess. I know those days might be a little long for me, and I might come running in.
And I think it depends on what the topic is too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about the airport, we could maybe do that in an hour. Some other stuff we may need an hour and a half, so we'd have to do it on a separate night.
Yeah. Anything earlier than 5:30, I think would be
Right. Correct.
So then it would be as needed then. It's kind of what you're suggesting.
That, I mean, it worked for me, did it work for everybody else too?
I think right now, let's leave it as needed, and as we start identifying different topics, we might have to do more of a schedule to make sure for deadlines that we have these meetings, on a scheduled basis. But since we don't even know really what topics they would be right now, I don't know if I want to set them as a once a month thing.
Does that work in your world,
Do we
Eric?
want to have them on the same day as the council meeting? Or on different
Yeah,
days?
I think like I said, I think it depends on the topic too.
I think there are some topics that require more time. I will tell you that we have, when we did our budget discussions, those were usually at least 2 hours.
Yep.
And I think the budget ones,
It would be hard to do that in an hour.
Yeah.
We could split it up over multiple, but sometimes it's hard when you've got a certain momentum
Get
on
lost
top.
where you're at.
Yeah. I do have an idea of what the topics are going to be, and you're always going to have other ones that are going to come up for sure. But I'm happy with keeping it open. I'm just looking for your feedback in terms of how you would like to handle that.
Well, I'm willing to come in on another night. I can see what you're saying, how it can get rushed, and first to get to the meeting, and then maybe an hour isn't enough. So I think if we just leave it kind of somewhat loose, like you said, Judy, but I would hate to cram a complicated topic into 1 hour.
I guess I agree. Just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll adjust to what we need to adjust to.
Just knowing we do agree to doing the extra
As needed.
work,
Yeah.
the extra
Yeah.
work sessions.
Yep. Okay, that's good to know.
Because like you said, they are helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, as we identify topics, then I hear that as kind of the consensus. As we identify topics, then what we'll do is it will bring it to your attention and schedule them like we have in the past. So.
Now that meeting schedule, that doesn't include the Board of Equalization in March?
No, but we do, it does not include the Board of Equalization because technically that's not a council meeting. But we do have a date for the Board of Equalization meeting. That was set last week. It's April 19th. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I think it's April 19th. It's the third Monday in April.
Yeah.
Yeah, April 19th. And so that's not part of this resolution, but you will have a meeting that night as the Board of Equalization.
All right, well, I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-5, the setting of a council meeting schedule for the calendar year.
Second.
First and second, do we have roll call?
Jones.
Aye.
Landay.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Koopman.
Aye.
Teagues.
Aye.
Tell.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
The next item, Mayor, is the establishment of the official municipal newspaper. This is for purposes of public notices that we're required to put in, like notices of public hearings, for example. And that identifies the Tracy Headlight Herald as the newspaper of record.
I make a motion that we adopt said resolution.
Seconded.
First and second.
You
do we
didn't
have roll
even
call?
make him sweat at all.
That was quick.
Ready? Jones.
Aye.
Tell.
Aye.
Teagues.
Aye.
Koopman.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Landay.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
The last item is related to our street project. This is Phase 3A2. Tonight we have Kyle from ISG here to talk about this item. Just to let you all know, we learned just this last week that Chris Larson is no longer with ISG, and so Kyle is now our main contact. And what this resolution does is approve the plans and specifications for this phase. And so this is basically saying, okay, we're going to start this project, and this is where it's going to be, and we're going to advertise for the bids, and then a little bit later, in about a month or so, you're going to get a resolution awarding the contract to whoever that is to start project work on 3A2 this summer. With that, I'll introduce Kyle to come and talk.
Thanks for the intro, Eric. Madam Mayor and City Council, thanks for having me again tonight. Just as a quick refresher, I think I recognize most people, but a few new ones for me. I'm Kyle Renneke with ISG, engineering and architecture and consulting firm that has been working with the city for a number of years now on these most recent projects over the last, I suppose, 6 to 8 years. And like Eric said, just that quick update that Chris Larson is no longer with ISG. So I see my smiling face behind a mask here more often, and maybe not as we continue forward, but hopefully. So just wanted to give you that. We still have the same great group of people at ISG, the same great team that you don't always get to see here at the public meetings with the wastewater and stormwater and all the rest of the design and inspection work that we do. So like I said, same great group of people that we have here. And if anybody ever has any questions, more than happy to answer them or talk any more about anything. Like Eric said, right now we're at a point in the process that Phase 3 and 3A1, the construction that was happening this past summer, is wrapping up. At one of the next upcoming council meetings here, I think in 2 weeks, we're kind of anticipating another pay request from the contractor, kind of a final pay request for that to close out the project and pay out the remaining retainage that's on that, and then to start the warranty period or to continue on with the warranty period for any remaining kind of restoration work. But tonight, 3A2 is the next project to that. And about a year ago it was that the council had approved starting design, the plans and specs, and authorizing and moving forward with the project. So here tonight we're bringing this resolution to the council to consider the adoption of that resolution, which would be approving the plans and specs and to set a bid letting date for the project. So that tentative bid letting date would be February 3rd. And that's in the resolution as well. February 3rd here at 11 a.m. in council chambers would be the tentative plan. In between then and now, we plan to hold one pre-bid meeting with any potential contractors, just so that if they have any questions, want a short presentation on what the work is, or ask any questions of us or staff, we'll host that here too for contractors prior to the bid.
When is that?
That is scheduled, I guess, right now for January 25th. And I think we had 3 p.m. on there just a few hours before the council meeting, so we'd have that and then a break prior to the council meeting.
Can we come to that too?
You are welcome to. It's not a requirement.
Yeah.
Typically, I'd say, like I said, it's not necessarily a closed meeting by any means, but it's if you wanted to join us, you're more than welcome to. But
Interesting.
we can give you an update on it too, later too. The one other thing I know I talked a little bit about with a couple new and maybe old faces that have been involved in the project. It is kind of a complicated number of phases and things happening. If there's ever a need for me or any of us to give a kind of an update to the council, a more in-depth update where we're at on things, we'd be more than happy to do that too in the larger project process. And then just a very quick update on where that's at. Obviously in your council agenda packet there is the map showing the location of this phase 3A2 project. It's the blocks west from 4th Street over to 8th Street, and the area between Morgan and Craig. So kind of a triangle of that between 4th and 8th, and then from Craig down to Morgan Street. It's that whole area there that will be getting new sewer and water, storm sewer, streets and pavements, and utility services to properties. So
is that about 22 blocks?
yeah, I was thinking 23 maybe I had counted at one point. It's a fairly large one. I think it's the largest of the 3 full reconstruct ones that are in phase 3.
What's the estimated construction cost?
I want to say this one was right around $7 million. So.
And that it doesn't include the soft costs, the engineering and administration and so forth.
It does.
It does. And is it
that I do want to look back at. I want to say that is a construction cost.
I'm pretty sure it includes the engineering.
Okay.
Because I believe we budgeted $4 million just for 2022, 2021, and then there's more coming in 2022.
Right, yeah.
It's probably not 100%, but the number sounds right to me based on what I remember.
And the last project last year, what was that, about $4 million?
No, that was closer to, yeah, it was closer to 6 actually. It's 5.7 or somewhere around there.
With everything.
With construction, that was as well.
Only construction.
Yep.
Is it anticipated then that this next project would include approximately what was included in this last project, like replacing the driveway approaches and sidewalk exactly the way they exist now?
When you say exactly, I don't know if you can quote me on it, but yeah, this is going to be a very similar type project to what was done this past season, where all the way out to the sidewalks and just beyond, everything within the city right of way, and then possibly there are sometimes there's a few services that are shared between homes, and we're working on separating those to separate properties. So yeah, it would be very similar to what was done with 3A1, and then replacing people's driveways and their services and yards to what they have here today.
Sod for the boulevards again?
Yep. Any other questions or thoughts, or can I go into more or less detail on anything?
Just to, I think most people know, but just for the record, this project has already been bonded for, and so we have monies basically sitting in a bank account for these expenditures, and so this is basically just the phase of completing a project that's already been approved and the bonds that have already been approved.
Are those the short-term bonds?
There's two versions of that. There's a long-term bond for the ineligibles costs, like the street and the sidewalk. That is a long-term bond that has already been done. And then there's a short-term loan that will convert to a long-term loan in a couple of years that covers the eligible costs, which is basically your water and sewer pipe and things like that.
Is this the end of it then?
No, by no means. We're kind of towards the beginning, actually. That you'll have phase There's a couple things. One thing I might as well just kind of throw out there a little bit, because Shane and I have been talking about it. For this phase 3, there's 3A, there's a 3 and a 4, and then there's a 3B in sometime in 2028 that is not funded yet at this point. We're going to have to make some decisions, in the next within the next year on what that long-term plan is going to look like. When do we do phase 3B? What does 3B look like? The other monkey wrench that's kind of being put into the works a little bit is that, and you may have heard this, but the new council members may not have, but we also have a plan for decommissioning the ponds, which we're required to do by the state. We're actually late on that at this point. We've been getting some letters from the state asking us when we were going to complete that. That decommissioning is not funded. And so I think by the end of the month, if I understand correctly, we're supposed to get an idea of what that plan is going to look like. And at some point during the course of the year, and this will be a subject for one of your work sessions, Shane and I will have to bring to you kind of a plan for how we're going to pay for the pond decommissioning, the rest of phase 3A, as well as potentially what 3B is going to look like down the road. And we may need to change some of the scope of some of those remaining phases in order to pay for all this. I don't want you to be surprised that that's a possibility. I'm not saying it is, but it's possible that that could happen. So, just know that discussion is coming sometime probably in the spring.
So these folks have to write a plan to decommission them ponds, or
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and you're going to get...
It's in the works right now, and we should be, like I said, we talked about checking in on that, giving you an update at the end of the month here.
We're getting close to getting that.
I think the goal with all of that and just the overall funding with this phase 3A2 project being bid, we'll have a good idea of what that end cost will be for that project. We know obviously we're wrapping up with 3A1, and then we'll have a much better idea of the decommissioning at that point as well. So kind of in the next month or so here, we'll take another kind of check the pulse on where things are at on all the different funding sources. And
would it make sense to try to put out a bid at the same time, so to speak, to decommission them ponds? Maybe we can get a little better price on it versus just...
I wouldn't. I think based on the difference in the scope of work, the decommissioning is going to be mostly more of an earthwork kind of separate type of work. You might get some of the same bidders, but you might get different ones as well. So I don't think it's necessarily something that needs to be tied to get better prices.
Okay. Just curious.
Depending on the size of project too, it could almost limit some folks that might only want to do the earthwork type, the filling in the ponds, versus they don't want to deal with the streets and the piping and that type of stuff in town. So
well, I didn't necessarily mean tie it together, but do it at the same time, so that maybe possibly the one doing the street work could sublet to someone else.
Sure, yeah, there is going to be some overlap there no matter what, based on how where things time out, and there more than likely will be multiple projects happening at the same time, whether one in town and some of that working out there. So
okay. I'm just curious.
Yep.
I'm curious, was it not known ahead of time that when we built new ponds that we were not gonna, or that we were gonna have to decommission the old?
Yeah, so
that wasn't included in some of this finance?
So the and Eric's nodding too, but so the new ponds and the decommissioning of the old ponds was part of phase 2, and that was all bid together with the new ponds and the decommissioning of the old as kind of two separate parts or alternates of the project. And based on the way the funding agency wanted us to advertise things to kind of create a fair bidding and means and methods, fair approach to it, we ended up getting very high bids on the decommissioning. And knowing that, the decommissioning of the old ponds was held off on, so that we could come up with a slightly new approach and try and entice better bids. The big issue was that a lot of the materials, the settlement and things from the bottom of the old pond, there is a way that you can go through testing processes and actually land apply it to farm fields and things like that. That wasn't specified in that type of contract. It wasn't kind of gone out ahead of time and done. So based on the way the funding agency wanted us to do it, so the contractors were kind of worried that that was going to be an issue during if they would bid it and do the work. So we're kind of going out ahead of time now, securing that land, making it more of just a move this dirt from here to there type of project, simplifying things for a contractor to bid it and get good bids on it.
To be more specific, the bids we got were $12 million.
Just a decommission?
Yeah, and so there wasn't a funding source for that. And so the feeling was that we needed to take some more time to really narrow it so that we could get better bids. Because they were bidding based on unknowns. They didn't know what was there and what they had to remove, what the environmental contamination was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so ultimately, we've done some testing, some core sampling of the pond to see what's there. I think we're going to get to a point where we have a better idea. But I want you to understand the magnitude of the potential expense here. And it is not funded at all at this point, which is why we're going to have some of these discussions. Now, our hope obviously is that it's going to be much less than $12 million, but we don't know at this point exactly. But it just became such a huge number, it was impossible to address.
But now the MPCA, or I think it's the MPCA.
Yes, it is.
Is saying we have to get them decommissioned, and what is the timeline that we have?
That's pretty much what they're saying. Now, what should have happened prior to now that didn't happen is what they're really saying at this point is, what's your plan? Because we were required to submit a plan already. We're late on even submitting a plan by almost a year, I think.
I think it was late 2019.
Yeah, we're more than a year late in submitting a plan. It should have been done in 2019. And so that's why I pushed, ISG and said, where's our plan? When we got the letter from the MPCA saying, you've got a problem here. And so we learned kind of what the magnitude of the cost is. And so it's kind of changing some of our thinking about how we might spend some of our money. Because if we don't do this, because you remember the whole ponds project was about making sure that we could still approve new water and sewer taps and new permits in the city. If we can't get this done, ultimately our risk is that they will tell us we can no longer build any more homes or businesses or anything in the city of Tracy. So this has to be a top priority to address.
Did they come up with an idea how we're supposed to pay for this? Holy moly.
Well, we don't know what it's going to cost yet. In reality, we just knew that was...
Cut that in half.
Well, still, it's going to be...
Even if you cut it in, even if it's $1 million, it's still substantial. So, this is a serious issue. And I just learned about it kind of in the fall time frame, and I think I communicated with the previous city council with the letter and kind of where we were at. But this is a big deal, and we're going to have to kind of figure out what this is going to look like. But we'll know sometime in the spring what our costs might be, and get a better idea of, once we know that, we can figure out how we're going to pay for it. The pot of money that we have right now is the bonds from 2019 for the street project that are sitting there, and the ineligibles bonds. So unless you want to go out and borrow more money, that's the biggest pot of money that we have sitting around that we could potentially use on a project like this. It doesn't affect 3A2. 3A2 is going to happen this year, but it could affect 3A3 and 3A4.
Kyle, is there any data available of how much the projects that we've gotten done so far has cut down on the amount of clear water going out to our lagoons? I mean, can we see some improvement on what we've spent and done already?
I don't know,
Yeah, Shane, you keep an eye on that.
I know ISG probably hasn't seen the data after the ponds are built, but we haven't had to bypass at all in 2020. And honestly, not since the new ponds have been online. So there's one thing that the MPCA holds against us is any bypassing into the storm sewer or bypass pumping. We did a lot of that in 18, which even with our new system, we still probably would have had to do it with the flood. But so that's one thing, and the flows are slowly decreasing as these projects get done, coming into the ponds. In fact, we have double the storage this kind of projected this spring before we have to discharge in March than we had last year. I mean, last year is kind of skewed because we had to pump the old ponds into the new ponds and then treat it and then discharge it from there. So there's a bunch of extra water in there, so it's kind of hard to tell exact right now. But this year we pumped a little bit this spring, and we still had room to get into our discharge windows where we weren't over. No violations were cited on that. So, I know the old council was here, got the report from PCA. I know Eric distributed that out. A lot of those violations are from our old system that you saw on there. Obviously, those have been corrected with the new system we have. So, 2020 might be the first year that we actually have a certificate of compliance with the PCA. So, we haven't seen that in 10 years.
How long are they willing to wait for this plan that's overdue?
The plan, I think, if I remember the letter correctly, within 2 years of taking them offline, we had to have a plan approved. Not necessarily the work done, but the plan has to be all set in stone. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the letter had stated with PCA.
The old ponds are empty,
Yes. Yep.
so we can't just cover them over.
No, and ISG is working on that portion of it, but
Part of the reason for waiting too was so that we could,
Up to the mic.
sorry, yeah, part of the reason for waiting too, like Shane had said, is that we've been working on pumping down the old ponds so that we can get those totally drained down, see what the bottom looks like, do some more sampling on them for this updated round of getting better bids on them. Before, when they're full of water, contractors don't know what's under there. Is there a bunch of plastic that they are contaminants that they couldn't, land apply or things like that. So that's been part of the reason too that city staff has been helping us out, that we were able to pump down the majority of it in 2019, and then the remainder of the ponds in 2020. So
we pumped until late December of 19, until we started freezing up and we were risking our pumps too much to pump anymore. And then we also were starting to run into a storage issue with pumping it over and making it through the winter also. So the PCA just kind of said, you're going to have to just cease pumping until spring. So we finished it up this spring.
So Shane, when we're all done with this, what are we going to do with that piece of property out there? Can we lease it out for?
I think farming would be an option, but it depends on how the site's treated. I know registering it as a landfill, if there's too much plastics, was a potential option, and I think in most cases a landfill has to be prairie grass, then that would probably get rid of the farming option. But let's say until they come up with an actual plan with how they want to decommission based on what's in there, it's hard to tell right now.
So
And
back
those
to my
ponds are,
oh,
go ahead, Jerry.
No, just back to my question, what time frame are we looking at? Is the MPCA going to say we have to have this plan to them by May 1st, or are they going to give us till December of 2021? When's ISG going to have a plan that then we can be putting it out for bids? I'm just kind of wondering about a timeline here, because I definitely want a timeline before we go into budget. I mean,
It needs to be done this year. Not necessarily the bids out there, but the plan has to be done.
Yep.
And I'm going to push hard to make sure that ISG completes the plan. I don't know if you have a chance to call the MPCA or not. I know that but one of the things that we're going to need to do is communicate with them, because at the end of the day, the thing that they hate the most is being ignored, and that's pretty much how they feel at this point. And so I don't think that we're in any danger, like as we're sitting here right now. But if we don't get an idea in their hand of what the plan is going to look like pretty darn quick, for sure this year, if not quicker, yeah, I think that we're at risk of, feeling their, regulatory response. So our plan is to get this in front of you, in the first quarter.
Thank you, first quarter.
Yep.
And then I just received another quick update on it tonight, so I haven't even got a chance to look at it, but we are currently working on plans. I mean, obviously there was a plan in place prior to, so as far as kind of the grading work, the earthwork that was tentatively planned to be done, that was kind of done along with phase two with the previous bid. Right now it's just been more of the, what kind of materials are we running into now that we have these ponds pumped down, what can we do with it, and working with our type 4 operator to kind of talk to some landowners and start testing some potential sites for land applying and getting that ready, so it's in the works.
Kyle, one other question on getting back to the infrastructure projects. Is the city still waiting for the county to do the Center Street project? Wouldn't that have been logical to have done before we go further west than town? Or
the Center Street and that area, that was planned to be part of the 3B phases of this for the utility work and the street work. I know I haven't heard as far as surface improvements what the county is planning. I know the county does have a plan for kind of a mill and overlay on South Street coming up here, but we have been checking in with them and working with them to make sure that they don't replace the road and then we go back into it 6 months later and dig into it with some of our utility connections that we need to make too. So
what year is the county thinking about doing Center Street then?
I guess I do not have a year for Center Street right now off the top of my head. I'd have to look back at a few of the reports.
It's been a while, but I want to say the last time we talked was slated for 2024, but that was 2 years ago. I don't know if they've moved that date at all, but
That street will never last to 2024.
no.
She's in tough shape now.
So is South Street.
Yeah.
But Center Street, when it's done by the county, it'll get new underground work also at that time, right?
I guess that depends
Take care of that
on.
or the county?
The city would have to take care of the underground portion. It'd be similar to 4th Street, when they did 4th Street. The county helped with the road base and the road, but everything underneath that, and the extra dirt that had to be moved to make that happen was on the city. So I guess it's up to the council if they want to do that at the time. What it boils down to, and how the funds look. That's a discussion to be had once we know more information.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would make a motion that we go ahead with Resolution 2021-7, seeking plans and specs, or approving the plans and specs and seeking bids for Phase 3A2.
I'll second it.
First and second, roll call.
Pittman,
Yes.
Tell,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Teags,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
I don't think Matt has anything tonight, do you?
I do not have anything.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah. And we don't have a closed meeting either. We will probably have one in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so George has a question.
I had a question that she skipped over in the mayor council communication.
Yeah.
And one One is, I was wondering, just talking here now, would this be the place where we would ask the city administration to go out and seek a place for the seniors to go midterm till we find something?
We're already working on that, George. So I'm glad to hear you say that, but Jeff Carpenter and I have had a couple of conversations about this, and I asked him to look at some options, and I'll kind of tell you what some of the thoughts are, because I think in the short run we're going to need to have some place for people to go. It became a problem in the past when we were looking at other places because we needed a place for LSS to cook. We don't need that necessarily right now, so that opens up a lot of other options. So we're going to go back to some of the ones that we already talked about, such as the Methodist Church has a nice community room that could work, that has a kitchen attached. And what we're thinking is you could do the same kinds of activities that you normally do, like you could have coffee and still desserts, play games, cards, socializing, things like that. It just wouldn't include the meal part of it. Or it's possible we could talk about bringing in a meal from somewhere. So the Methodist Church will be one that we talked to, that Jeff is going to talk to. The Plaid Moose has offered part of their space as well, potentially for that kind of thing. And I know that Jeff is going to go back to the caboose as well. Somebody suggested that maybe we turn the library basement into that, and I think that's a possibility as well, because that's kind of a nice space down there, and that could potentially work. But if you would like to give me that direction, I'd be happy to take it. We're already heading down that path.
My question, one other question that comes with this, like these meals that the folks are eating from LSS.
Yep.
We used to eat at the senior center, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Could we do that? Have them go there to eat their meal? They could socialize a little bit.
Potentially, there's a couple of options. We could potentially ask LSS to bring, boxed meals in, essentially like they would Meals on Wheels. We haven't it would cost, but we could do that. The other option is that we could, source a local, folks. I talked to Bruce at Food Pride at one point about it, and he said, yeah, we could do that. He said, but we're not really set up for that volume, so, he's not sure how logistically it would happen. I also reached out to Brian over at Prairie View, and, he thought they could also potentially do it as well, because they're serving meals right now for Brian Court. The issue and those are really kind of our three options in town, because you have to have somebody who has the ability to provide that, volume. So I think any or all of those are potential solutions to that. If that's something we wanted to do, yes.
I'm assuming that they're still getting the 30, 40 meals coming over to town from wherever they're getting made now.
Well, those 30 or 40 that you've heard were not all the city of Tracy. Those are just ones out of the city of Tracy locations, so they would serve Valentin and other places too. So actually in the city of Tracy was a smaller number than that.
Well, let's say there's 15. Could they go to this place that we find and eat them meals at noon instead of taking them to their house?
I think that's possible, yes. This all depends on the COVID restrictions and the governor. At this point, I would consider this to be a social gathering. And so, we can have a building open, but social gatherings are still limited by executive order to 10 people or less from no more than 2 households, which doesn't work in this context. So we're going to have to wait for some of those restrictions to ease a little bit. So we've got a little bit of time. But yes, I think it's possible.
Could they fall under the same rules as the restaurants, being 50%?
Well, because they're not a restaurant. That's why.
Getting a meal.
It's not a restaurant.
How does Marshall, how did they open? How did Pipestone open?
I don't know. I'm just telling you what the rules are.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how they're open and we're not.
There's a difference between open and letting people in and do things like eat meals and socialize.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking, I guess.
I just read the executive order, the latest one earlier today, and the only thing that changed from this one that has been previously is that they allowed restaurants and bars to open up at 50% capacity, and then the youth sports stuff. Everything else hasn't changed. We're still under the same regulations that we have been since March.
Okay, that being said, are we going to be ready to roll with the swimming pool if he don't slap one on there?
Yes, I'm going to say. I've had conversations with Shannon, the pool manager, multiple times over the last 2 weeks. And today, actually, we looked at an ad for starting to advertise for lifeguards. And so the issue is going to be getting the lifeguards in. And so I said, we've got to get this open come hell or high water, you know, sorry for the pun there, but that's what it is. So she's scheduled, the issue is going to be training, and so she's scheduled already the person to do the training to come to the pool for June 1st and 2nd. And Shane and I have discussed how we were going to get it open because we had to put a new boiler in for the lap pool because, if you remember right, that broke last year. And Shane's plan is to get it open by the middle of May in terms of having the water filled and everything ready to go so that we can get the lifeguards trained the first week of June and then shortly thereafter, maybe the 4th or 5th or something like that, open the pool. Last year, we got caught behind the 8 ball because we didn't know what was going on. The governor kept changing the rules, and they said no, and they said yes. And by the time it all got to the end, we didn't have any lifeguards. But we're not going to put ourselves in that position this year. We're going to get the lifeguards hired ahead of time, the training scheduled. If the governor says no to pools, well then, you know, it is, we can't do anything about that. But we're going to assume that it's open and get prepared for it this year.
Good.
Last year, normally we wouldn't do this until April, you know. We're not waiting until April this year.
Good.
So, Eric, are we going to put a timeline on this? I think it's gone long enough. I think we need to,
What are we talking about?
the senior center. I think we need to get a timeline on this.
If you have a crystal ball,
this thing for how long now?
if you have a crystal ball, I can ask the governor
Well,
when he can allow this to be open again. I can give you a
I
timeline.
understand, but this problem is going to go away, and we're going to be back to normal, hopefully.
Right.
Okay, so we need something in place here.
I'm not sure what you mean by in place. I can't give you a timeline because I can't tell you what the governor is going to do, nor can I tell you when the pandemic is going to end. I can't tell you how soon the vaccines are distributed. I can't tell you when the transmission rates are going down. I can't tell you any of these things. That's why we can't give you a timeline. I can tell you that we are preparing for making that happening so that when that becomes possible that we are ready.
Maybe a different word than timeline is, can we look at options A and B? Like option A is, where can you temporarily go?
Right.
Whatever the date is.
That's right.
We're not going to have a timeline because that is out of our control.
That's right.
But so that we don't get caught behind the 8 ball like we did with the pool last year. We don't want to get caught behind the 8 ball with the senior center this year.
That's right.
So that's where I think we need to look at these options, be it, I know with the Methodist Church, the one concern I remember from the last time was when they have funerals, you don't know ahead of time, and all of a sudden there might be something planned there for the senior center. So that's still my concern as far as with the church.
Yep.
But we can look at our options and say, okay, get that all in place, that when the governor does open them, it's easy to pull that trigger.
Yep.
As far as a timeline for the permanent solution, I think that's got to be looked at as a option B, and that's where the committee and everything needs to be involved in what those options are. And that needs to be brought forward then to us as to, I mean, because we have directed more or less Eric and Jeff, whatever, to work with this committee to get prices for different options. You know, because we talked here, I don't know, you guys refresh my memory, where we said, you know, bring back the cost of different options.
Yeah, month and a half ago.
Yeah, as to what the cost would be to build a new one, to add on here, to go into that side of the VMC, you know, the different options, because money, as we've already heard tonight, money is a big concern for us. But we do need to move forward because that permanent solution isn't going to come without the planning but we all have to be working together on this plan. And that's where I'm not part of this committee.
We've had a
You
couple
know.
of meetings of the committee. We'll have at least 6 of the committee. We're kind of just still towards the beginning, moving towards the middle. And the short answer is that I don't know yet, what is going to be recommended. There are probably only a few choices anyway at the end of the day, because there's only so many things you can do, right? And so we probably will, as staff, go and take a look at some other pricing options, just so that, as the committee continues to discuss things, we also have some information that we can provide at the same time. But, I don't want anybody to be surprised that this is not something, the permanent solution is not something that happens quickly. What I've already told the committee, and what I will tell you, is that everything that I've read about building a community center, a new community center in any town, anywhere, big, small, it doesn't matter, is that you always want to make sure that you take enough time that you do it right. Because you want to build some community consensus around it, and that's hard, because we have people that disagree on this issue. You have seniors that have a strong opinion. There are other people in the community that have equally strong opinions. And so I don't want to put you as a council in a position of having to pick and choose winners and losers. We've got to try to work with people to create some kind of consensus solution. Now, a consensus solution doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree on every single little point. It also doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree, because I don't think you can make everybody happy all the time, right? But we should try to bring the community together for a community solution. It may take a while. Even with this February deadline of coming back to you with some thoughts from the committee, I don't think that necessarily means that that's not the end of the road. We're not going to have a vote on February 22nd, or whatever the date is in February. That's the second Monday. Is it the 22nd or the 25th?
22nd.
The 22nd. We're not going to have a vote on February 22nd for an option. It's not that cut and dried. We'll have a report from the committee as far as where they're at, but I suspect, it's going to take more time than that. And that'll be another topic for a study session this year, I'm sure, more than one.
Okay, well, I have a question about that, because how many members are on the committee?
There are 14 members on the committee,
And how many are seniors? 4
of them. And the way that we design the committee is to be representative of the community. And Tracy, according to census data, is roughly 20% seniors. The direction that you gave me was that this was a community center, and this was for the entire community. We need to have a space for seniors because of what people lost. I think that's important for everybody to recognize. But it's also important to recognize that we have an amazing opportunity to bring the entire community together for something that is beneficial for everyone. And so, 4 out of 14 is roughly proportional to the number of people that are, seniors that are in the city. And I will promise you, because I know each one of those seniors, they don't have any problem speaking their mind at all. And so for those of you who are seniors, you are well represented on this committee, let me tell you. Absolutely. So yes, that is the makeup of the committee. And it includes people of all ages, and that's what we were trying to do. If you remember the survey that we did, which, I always have to put the disclaimer that it's not really a scientific survey, but it showed that there was a lot of differences in people's opinions in this city based on your age. The older you got, the more likely you were to say, I just want a senior center. The younger you were, the more likely you were to say, I want some kind of recreational center. The one thing that everybody agreed to, no matter their age, conceptually, was a community center. That's the sweet spot that we have the opportunity to get consensus on, I think, in this community. That should include a place for seniors, a dedicated place for seniors, in my opinion. And it should also include, space for other things that we decide we want to program for the community. So that's my thoughts on the process. And I apologize because I should have given you a report on this by now. It happened really quickly, and then we had the holidays and a new council, and things just kind of got away from me. But I'll also work on a written report for you, this week as well, so you get a better idea of where the committee is at. We have a meeting on Wednesday night, and I think that'll be probably about a halfway point. It'll be a good.
Like in 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days.
What time is that?
5:30. Yep.
You're on that, George?
Yeah, I'm blessed.
And if you think George is quiet,
What's that?
Those words never came out of my mouth. So, okay, like I was saying, we have to have a B, an A, and a B.
Yep.
Okay, B is going to include the meeting on Wednesday.
Yep. That's a longer term issue.
What kind of a time frame could we look at that would be realistic for you and Jeff to be able to bring back as
I'm sure we
options?
can. I'm sure within a month. I'm sure within a month we
I
can.
guess
bring
that's
that
what I
up.
was getting at, Jared.
Yeah.
A time frame of trying to get at least part of this wrapped up so we can.
Well, so
I
the
think
seniors feel
within a
like
month.
they're being looked at, they're being heard, that we are looking at what we can do in
Yep.
the interim,
That's
knowing whatever Plan B turns out to be is not going to be done by July 1st.
That's where we need to focus. Get this interim up and running
Get it
so
running.
that we can
Get a place where they can meet again.
The
Until
easiest.
we find out where we're gonna go with this.
I will tell you that my personal opinion is, after somebody mentioned it to me today, the easiest thing would be to just do the basement of the library, to be honest. Because it's a nice space, it has tables and chairs, it has, I'm not sure how Valerie would feel about that, but it might be a decent temporary solution. It is up and down stairs, but it does have a wheelchair lift. Remember, the seniors said no second floor. They didn't say anything about no basement. But from a standpoint of the best spot we have in the city, literally the best, space, most comfortable, nicest space we have in the city is the basement of the library, honestly. And it wouldn't cost us anything. We'd have to pay rent in any other space. So, but we'll come back with some options within a month.
But at this point, you don't think we could have the Meals on Wheels go down there and they'll...
We might be able to. We'd have to reach out to them and ask. We might be able
I
to
think
do
that needs to be part of Plan A.
Yeah.
Is
We'll
reaching
ask.
out to them.
We'll
to
do that.
Because we're not going to open this Plan A place anyways until the restrictions have been loosened up. So by the time they loosen up and we can have a temporary center, we would be able to probably eat there. So I think we need to know, is that an option? Or then what are other options for food if that's not?
Yep.
I asked about that though before, about whether they could like all come together and eat even though they have their own little boxes. And they said that when I'm saying they, I don't mean LSS, but I'm just saying the person told me that when you get those, basically they're not warm very much. You'd have to have a place to heat them up again. And
That's potentially an issue. That's why I'm saying that it might work, because I think there's a lot of things we need to think through. When you're talking about box lunches, essentially, I need to understand the permitting a little bit better, just to make sure we didn't need a cafe's license for something like that. And then people would have to be willing to do it. And then there's that whole issue you just raised is, well, is that food even any good at that point? It may not be a great idea in the short run, but it's possible.
Is that door locked, Shane?
It is locked. Shane, do you have a key? Here,
I don't have mine.
Here, take mine.
They should have lights on for it too.
It's this one here.
Well, I think at this point, if we can find them a place together after the pandemic's over with, until we can find a permanent place, I don't want to see us stay down in the library and say, hey, this is it. This is going to be your guys' home.
No. But Valerie wouldn't
That don't
stand
happen.
for that. I promise you. She'd be like, I want my library back.
Well, I don't blame her.
Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that is the solution. I am saying that there are multiple solutions that we've been talking about and looking at. I don't have a recommendation yet because I don't have all the information.
Are there bathrooms in that basement?
There are not bathrooms in the, yes,
Yeah.
yes, there are bathrooms in the basement, yes. Yes.
Just the thing is, we want to be as close as we can to ready to go when they loosen it up.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Not all of a sudden, oh, they loosened it up, we got to go find something.
I'm with you. I promise you, we're on it already.
Good, thank you.
We are on it already.
So we can put it down like for the first meeting in February?
Probably, yes. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to just suggest that maybe in February we should have a separate study session just to talk about this topic generally, because I think there's enough to talk about on this, and the committee's going to have, you know, a report out that maybe in the middle of February that we ought to have that meeting.
How often does the committee meet?
We've been meeting twice a month, and so we're going to meet. We met twice in December, and this is our first meeting in January, and then we'll meet again 3 more times after this. But if you want to wait until the committee is done, there's no magic to those numbers, though. It could be more, it could be less. That's just what we had slated.
I think when we get down the road here, Eric, we need to put a senior board back in place.
We could do that.
We need to get something like that organized.
We could do that. I think one of the discussions about that, and I think that's a good idea generally to have an advisory board. I think that we ought to have a robust discussion about what that senior group does. You know, what is their role? But absolutely, we could create a senior board of some kind. You bet. Anything else on that topic?
Motion to adjourn? Oh, go ahead.
Motion adjourned.
This is why we need study sessions.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, how'd it go, Seth?
Oh, council, before you go, we want to get a picture of the entire council in front of the City of Tracy sign. And I think that Diane